My name is Beverly. I am Canadian. Yes, I am also American, but Canadian by birth. I went to school actually in the States at University of Maryland in College Park, Maryland. I am currently doing my MBA at ESMT Berlin. I have been working in customer service management a lot. So I've managed people on a customer-facing side in stores. And I really I mastered it, but I didn't really enjoy it. So there was a lot of customer interaction and it was a little bit much for me. I enjoyed more the back of the house, behind the scenes stuff. So really my last job, I was basically answering the phones, to customers, and it was absolutely draining. And I needed a change. I wanted to do something that was just more on the back end of things. Like 6 years ago, I visited Europe for the first time and fell in love, especially with Berlin. So basically since then, I've been saying I need to find a way to move to Europe one way or another. I was an undergrad, so I couldn't obviously do an MBA right away, even though I had thought about it, but I needed work experience. So I lived in a few different cities, and throughout that time, the ultimate goal was still to come to Berlin somehow. So yeah, it came about with the location. That was the first thing I looked at. And then I also looked at, the rankings, I looked at price, I looked at quite a few things that led me to ESMT Berlin. ESMT, the price of the program was amazing, especially compared to what I was used to in the US and Canada. And then, of course, I was really interested in the innovation track. I'm really into entrepreneurship and just doing new things. So for me, having the innovation program was really important. There was the GNAM opportunities, which I didn't end up doing because of COVID, but that was one of the things that drew me to ESMT, was the opportunity to study at another school. And then the length of the program. I didn't want to be unemployed for 2 years. So I preferred something a little bit shorter. And I thought I could handle the intense program. So yeah, I wanted something shorter, and ESMT was perfect amount of time for me. The city, I found it so open. The people that I met in Berlin were amazing, super nice. The city was really diverse, which I really enjoyed. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun. I was here for the first time for 48 hours, and I don't know why, the city just was calling to me. The people were calling to me, and food was amazing, which is always important to me. So yeah, that's how I ended up here. Since then, I was that was the most fun city I've ever been in. My experience in classrooms, one thing that they told us at the beginning was to treat the classroom kind of like a boardroom, which I thought was pretty interesting. I didn't really know what that meant. But eventually it really it feels like a community in class. The professor is talking, but it doesn't really necessarily feel like a lecture. It's more of a discussion. So, there's obviously discussion prompts, and a lot of times it's really just us interacting with each other and learning from each other, which I think is amazing, because obviously not every professor is going to have all the experiences. So combining everyone's experiences from all over the world, all of their different employment fields, I find is a lot of fun. Obviously, it got cut a little bit with COVID. We had to go online and take our classes online. So of course that changed the interaction a little bit. But then what we noticed is that people who didn't necessarily talk as much in person kind of interacted more online, which was interesting to see. We had some professors that were really good at, keeping us engaged, because it is a little bit harder to stay engaged when you're online. But, we have some professors that like to cold call or do polls. So we still, got to interact. We got to do breakout rooms. So we still got to talk to each other. It just, obviously reduced the interaction. And another thing that I really loved was our group work. I didn't really expect to like working in groups as much, but I find I learned so much from working in groups. We ended up studying in groups even. And of course, after COVID, that kind of got, shortened as well, which is unfortunate. But those are the main things. Like, it's a lot of collaboration, and you learn more, honestly, I think, from your classmates than you do from the professors. Right now, we are not completely online. Our MBA program, we're actually done with our physical courses, so we're not really on campus much, but we are able to go on campus if we need to. The other classes, I think they are on campus. They are doing like a hybrid program just to, reduce the number of people in class. But it's definitely not fully online, and you do still get to interact with your coaches. There are still events happening, so you're not necessarily just going to be alone. Throughout the whole program, Career Services is there with workshops and just presentations, really just to get you going, thinking about your career and trying to figure out what you want to do. One thing that I really love that they did is getting us career coaches. So we get, somebody that we get to talk to, because a lot of us still don't know what we want to do when we graduate. So they kind of help us figure that out. I really enjoyed that. I also really enjoyed the mock interviews and everything that we've done. I found those super helpful, just because you get real feedback from a real recruiter that tells you, how to interview and how you did it in an interview. I found I learned so much from that. And of course, Career Services, where they normally shine is events, and COVID kind of put that to a stop. There are still quite a lot of online events, so it's not like you completely miss out on the networking opportunity, just obviously not as much because of COVID. Well, one thing that I've learned is just more so how to interact with people from different countries. Of course, the program is in English and everybody speaks English, but obviously everybody comes from very different backgrounds, and everyone has just different ways of working. So I've learned to just, take a step back a little bit more and make more of an effort to understand either where people are coming from, or how they would like to approach things. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned, is just to be a little bit more patient and try to understand people more, put myself in other people's shoes a little bit more. I do plan on staying in Berlin. That was my main reason for coming to school, was to move here. So I'm not trying to go back at any point. I do think that the odds are pretty great of being able to land a job. It just, of course, depends on what you're trying to do. I don't speak very good German, so I can't go into consulting. Some of the larger German companies I won't be able to work at. However, I'm more interested in startups anyway. And a lot of the startups are more international, and the working language is English. So I'm not too worried about that. Of course, speaking German, it helps, and there are quite a few jobs that require fluent German. But I think that the chances are pretty high. Even if I don't get a job in Germany, I'm sure I'll be able to get a job somewhere else, close by, another European country if I need to. But I think the chances are pretty high. What do I wish somebody told me? Everybody comes to the program for very different things. I was actually a little bit intimidated when I first started, because I thought, I don't have as much experience as a lot of other people. I'm not as old as a lot of other people. And I really thought that, I wouldn't necessarily have anything to contribute. But obviously you learn that that's not really the case. Everyone's there for a reason. Everybody has something that they bring to the table. So I wish somebody had maybe reassured me a little bit and told me like everything's going to be okay. And also I wish somebody had told me that my classmates would be so awesome, because I really thought it was gonna be like, stuffy people, MBA executives, but that's really not the case. The technology side of ESMT is actually really subtle, to the point where it's not necessarily a huge component of the program unless you want it to be. We have our tracks, we have our electives, but I really saw technology more in a subtle way, in the sense of some of the courses we took, for example, like matchmakers in the digital economy. It's literally just about online platforms. It's not necessarily just about the technology and how to use it, but it's just more so running a business in the digital age, which you can't really avoid whether you're into tech or not. I have zero tech background, zero analytical background, but I was able to do everything quite well. There are some electives that are a little bit more techie, like machine learning, where you do a little bit more coding. But again, I did not take that because it just wasn't something for me. So if you want tech, you can definitely have more of it. And if you're not that tech versed, you'll still be fine, because it's mostly, the tech that we know, just how to be digital. I love the honesty of Germans. I am a very honest person. And I find that I like the straightforwardness of Germans. I wouldn't want to go without that anywhere. I think it helps make things just clearer, easier to deal with, less confusion. That's probably my favorite thing about Germans. I guess one thing that is really important is that, even though the program is very intense because it's a year program, at the beginning you do go through a lot. I think it's important to not come here just to study. The city is amazing. It has so much to offer, and it has made my experience so much better. Just having that balance of, school, but still having fun. I think that's one of the most important things is, not to come here and just stay buried in the books and only focus on that. It's really important to enjoy this amazing city, because when will you ever be a student in the most amazing city?